The John Lewis bill is back. It is back strong today. It seems to be the next best hope for the Democrats.
So, Lawrence, I think what you missed was a little part of that Dear Colleague letter that Speaker Pelosi sent, where it said that H.R. 4 was not a substitute for H.R. 1. And we need both of them to make sure that our voting rights are truly secured across the country and standardized for democracy. So there isn't a substitute to just say that we can pass H.R. 4 and then we don't need H.R. 1, because H.R. 4, while I'm a strong proponent and will fight to the end to make sure that we get pre-clearance back in place, it does nothing to prevent the laws that have already been enacted in states like Georgia and what is about to happen in Texas and what we've seen introduced in 47 states across the country. So I am continuing to practice in the art of what is possible and making sure that we don't give up on H.R. 1 in this conversation around H.R. 4 and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
One thing that is not included in either one of those bills was pointed out by the New York Times in an editorial, and that is the counting of votes. What happens after the votes are cast, and how Georgia, your state, has changed some of the components involved in counting votes, who authorizes the counts of votes. Arizona is trying to do the same thing. Texas is trying to do the same thing. How can you address that part of the problem that's now developing, which many of the voting rights lawyers have said are the most dangerous components of those bills?
So legislation is ever changing, Lawrence, and maybe that is something that Senator Manchin can work on the Senate version of this legislation and work with Republicans, since they seem to have problems with how votes were counted in the aftermath of the 2020 election. But what I've been focused on is making sure that we have a standardized process to access the ballot across the country, no matter where you live. If you are here in Atlanta, if you are in California, if you're in New York, if you're in DC, which I hope will become a state, which is a whole nother conversation for another night. But no matter where you live in this country, your right to vote should be standardized. And that's what my focus is right now with H.R. 1, the For the People Act. And then when we get H.R. 4, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, added on to this, that only gives us the pre-clearance so that we can look at, when laws are being enacted in the future, having pre-clearance so that states have a history of voter suppression like Georgia will have to go through the Department of Justice to make sure that they're not doing things that will impair someone's access to the ballot.
Are you worried about the vote count in the next elections in Georgia 2022, in your own next election, then in the next presidential election, and what Republicans will do after the polls have closed with their new powers in these new laws to basically deal with the vote count?
When it comes to the right to vote, especially here in the South, Lawrence, I am always worried about what Republicans might do. But what I'm more worried about is, how do I make sure that every Georgian that wants to cast a ballot has the ability to do so in a way that is safe, in a way that we can count those votes? And that is what I'm worried about mostly, because people showed up to vote in November, in January in Georgia. We gave the United States Senate a Democratic majority. And now it's time that we make sure that we're standing up for the people that showed up to vote and giving everybody the same access to the ballot across the board.